Welcome to Transformer CEOs with me, Erik Schmidt. This week it was fascinating to be joined by a serial investor and entrepreneur. Peter Lindholm was CEO of unicorn company Frontier Car Group and is now chair of Unaric, a software group integrating SaaS companies into AI-powered platforms. Peter speaks openly and directly about scaling from 3 to 5,000 employees, the AI juggernaut coming down the tracks towards all CEOs, especially those with large white-collar populations, his preference to reward with equity rather than bonus for all key staff, and his non-negotiable trait of obsession, which he seeks out on all key hires. In addition to Transformer CEOs, I run a successful advisory and consulting company working with CEOs, chairmen, and investors to deliver successful business transformations. I hope you enjoy what you see and hear from Peter. Please leave comments, because here at Transformer CEOs, we love your feedback. Peter, you started your early career experience in the military.
Yes, so as a lot of the Swedish young men do, I did military service. Did about 15 months there. Was good, was up in northern Sweden. And I would say easily a transformational experience. I wasn't the best soldier. I was very enthusiastic though.
Well, you went on to there to do mountain rescue. And then I think 10 years later, you were the CEO of a unicorn company.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things I'm curious about is what were some of the parallels between that early experience and your CEOship?
I mean, it was interesting. So in the military, I was the deputy commander of a platoon, and we had responsibility for about 35 people. We were a reconnaissance platoon, so we would infiltrate quite far, but the idea would be that we would infiltrate behind enemy lines. And I think it was quite similar in the terms of pressure, right? So you're doing something that you've probably never done before. You're attempting to maybe go to an area you haven't been before. So it's all about managing the unknown. And I think that is very similar to kind of being a CEO of a larger business as well. I mean, you're kind of often as a CEO kind of dabbling in decisions where it's very unclear if it's right or wrong. You just have to take a decision and focus on making that right. Mm-hmm. So I think quite similar in a way, but obviously, at the ripe age of 20, I was significantly less equipped than I was at the age of 30 something.
Yeah. So there were 10 years of corporate experiences, wasn't there, between your early experience and your CEOship? Did that prepare you? Did that give you the breadth and depth you needed to run a unicorn business?
I mean, it definitely helps, I would say. I mean, I went through a lot of different jobs in that period of time. I started quite early doing sales management jobs. I think that was very transformational for me. Just understanding how to motivate people, both on the customer side, but also on the sales team side. So built a couple of sales teams, moved in, took some leadership roles in some larger businesses in the Kinnevik group, managing sales and marketing, managing certain investments, things like that. And I think kind of that prepared me, at least to an extent, as well as you can be prepared, I think, to be a CEO of a business.
Mm. And how did the CEOship come about?
I mean, it was a bit of a journey. So the business that we set up in 2016 initially was supposed to be more of an investment group. So I met a guy called Sujay. Sujay was a very good fundraiser, a very good guy at selling an idea. I was a very operational type of person. And we put our heads together to build essentially what was a clone of Auto1, which was a very successful German startup at the time. Now, my journey started as the COO of that business. Then after a while, we had kind of a co-CEOship. And when we sold the majority of the business in 2019, my co-founder, he left. I stayed as the CEO of that business until we sold the remaining shares in 2021, 22.
Gotcha.
So I think there was a bit of a journey there. was luckily enough prepared, but I was used to being, in charge of the day-to-day operations since I was 20, I think.
Gotcha. And tell us a little bit about the business, so for people unfamiliar with it.
So essentially, it was kind of the Carvana of emerging markets. We started as a business buying cars from consumers and reselling via online auction to car dealers. Mm-hmm. Over time, we also added a consumer sales channel, so selling cars directly to consumers. We also started financing car dealers, financing consumers, and also layering insurance on top. Mm. So we started in what we call the machine gun countries, which was kind of Nigeria, Pakistan, Turkey, and Mexico. So there's a lot of interesting stories from those places. And then we expanded buying business in the US. We rolled out in most of Latin America, in Indonesia, India, Poland, and a few other places. So it was an interesting journey.
So you call out some of the developing markets, and you have some stories there. What can you give us a flavor of what life was like?
Yeah, I would say chaotic is definitely there. There's always something crazy happening in between, kind of floods, earthquakes, and storms. We also had crocodile turning up in a warehouse, for example, from the local zoo. We had issues with kind of wild animals in general. Mm-hmm. In Mexico, we had a lot of issues with narcos. So you had to ensure that you were not encroaching in any territory there. And obviously just kind of fundraising for this business, which, started as kind of a part-time project to kind of being a $2 billion business. I mean, that was a journey in itself. I think we nearly went bankrupt 3 or 4 times.
Okay, but congratulations! What an achievement at the end of 22, I think, or 21.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, it was a good journey.
So maybe there's more parallels with your early military experience than you led on initially with handling wild animals and narcos and what have you. So now, what about? So you've explained how you progressed through the business as COO and then joint CEO and then ultimately CEO. So it sounds like there was some progression there, and you kind of were given more as time went on. Is that fair?
I think it was more kind of the constellation of our group. So we had initially we had Sujay, who was fundraising mostly, and I was running the day-to-day business, and we had a guy called Andre who was our CTO. And then over time, I think it just became kind of a natural development that we kind of had this co-CEO setup. And I think it's kind of similar thing there when Sujay moved on. There was no one else really to take over that business. I never really aspired to be kind of the leader, but I think that was inevitable at some point.
Okay. So you never aspired to be in the top job?
No, not in that way, at least. I think, it's quite lonely at that point. Mm-hmm. And often all the decisions on you and all the pressure is on you to deliver, the future. So I think, it is quite a special job to have, I think. And I think I think most people who have had that job understand what it's like.
Yeah, because people do say it's lonely, as you say. People say they're tough to get, the CEOships, and sometimes even tougher to keep. Yeah, and would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think in our case maybe it was different because we had built the businesses from scratch. It's definitely I think it's much lonelier than people think. Mostly because you are legally responsible, for example, for most of the things that happen. So you can get advice from lawyers and CFOs and all these kind of different people. Mm-hmm. But in the end, you're the guy who takes the decision. So it's all on your shoulders.
And were you also co-owner at this point?
Yeah. So me, Sujay, and Andre, we founded the business. Yeah. So we started from scratch and we had a relatively even split. So me and Sujay had a similar share, and then Andre had, as he joined later, slightly less. We were partners in that
gotcha.
Game.
So at least you could keep an eye on your investment.
Yeah, that was the positive part, right? But that also keeps you around. I think sometimes I wonder if I would have stayed around if the incentives weren't as prominent.
Okay, we'll come back to that theme. Yeah. That's an important one. Yeah. What as you look in your and beyond crocodiles and what have you, what were the highs and lows in the CEOship time that you did there?
I mean, I think the highs is always kind of walking in the morning into your office and thinking, hey, I built this.
Mm-hmm.
This was amazing. Of course,
Yeah.
I didn't do this alone. I had amazing people who worked with me, and they did the vast majority of the work. So it's definitely not all on me, but I think just walking in and going like, if we wouldn't have started this, there wouldn't have been anything. I think that was amazing. And then there are lows. I mean, there was an insurmountable amount of times, even daily at some point, where you're kind of wondering, am I doing the right thing? Is this going anywhere? How are we going to survive next month? All these kind of different things. So I think, as an entrepreneur and CEO, I think it's very much up and down, especially in a loss-making, essentially venture capital backed business. It's it keeps your mood swinging up and down considerably. So I think you experience pretty much the highest of highs and the lowest of lows on a daily basis.
You're really selling it.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, sometimes I've obviously started a bunch of businesses after that, so I'm somewhat addicted, I realize.
So what's that addiction about? What gets you?
I think you just kind of get an idea in your brain and you can't not scratch the itch. I think that's what it's about. And then you're kind of like, you have to do it.
And is that more about the entrepreneurship and the funder of these businesses, or more about the CEO-ship and running and operating them, would you say?
So for me, it's like, I'm not really specific about the part I need to have in this business. But I do like building and seeing the things becoming created. That's what I enjoy the most. I love the transformation of it. You go through so many phases of building a business. There's this early stage where, you're like just a couple of guys or girls, trying to create something from nothing. Then there's kind of the next phase where you're like, oh, this could fly, right? Now we're like 10, 15 people and we're creating something. And then suddenly you're 100 people. And now you're like, oh shit, we need processes, we need systems, we need all these different things that we didn't think we needed before. And in the end, when you reach into the thousands, you have to kind of take a completely different leadership role. You have to be more of a visionary. You have to speak to the people. It's all about HR, really, getting the right people into the team. And most often, you have to kind of change most of the layers for that business, right? Because like the people that were great at building a 10, 15, 100-man team, they are not the people who are going to build 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 person team.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's you have a lot of tough conversations, with people you probably like quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And people who were there at the beginning.
Yeah, and supportive and loyal, right?
Yeah, and now how do they fit? But yeah, you took the business from the three of you to 5,000, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
So a massive scale up over
6 years.
6 years, Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, it was a journey.
Yeah. And you said you nearly went bust 3 times.
Yeah. So I think we bet the bank on essentially scaling these businesses at kind of a breakneck speed. So like the first year we did 10 million, next year 70 million, next year after that 270 million. So we were really kind of pushing the border of what we thought was possible. And we ended up around, when I left, we were doing around 2.5 billion run rate of the business. So, over a 6-year period, you were really, often you were kind of doubling or tripling the business nearly on a quarterly basis, which is crazy. But that also means that the money is just flowing out through the door because you're just hiring, on a massive scale. And that's complicated. Yeah, you constantly have to raise money. So luckily enough, I had Sujay as a partner, and he was an amazing person at raising money. Best salesperson I ever met in my life. And I think, us two working together was a great partnership from that perspective.
Fantastic. Now you obviously have friends and family around you as well in this time. So what were they whispering in your ear?
I'm lucky to have a very supportive wife. We've been together for 20 years. So we met when she was 20 and I was 23. And I think that's been amazing. But obviously, I mean, quite straining to have, build a family during the same period as you're building a business.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd usually speak about, our we have 3 kids now, but we have a 4th child, which is, Peter's pet project.
Okay.
which takes a lot of time.
Right.
So, so I think you work hard to keep your wife happy, do everything it takes, so that, things are good. But yeah, it was definitely tricky. I mean, I had periods when I was home, 1-2 days a week. She was home with 2 young kids, there were 2 under 2, which is, that's
a lot.
Stressful.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So, it was tough.
And what was the best advice she ever gave you as you were growing the business?
I mean, she was definitely my confidant in terms of, how to think about people, because her perspective is very different than mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have a very complementary mindset.
Okay.
And she's very calm, tough cookie.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that, I mean, we basically spoke daily on the challenges of employees I would have or how to deal with them and maybe what they were thinking. As someone who's quite energetic and focused, sometimes you forget to think about other people's perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she was very good at helping me with that.
Okay.
Understanding the other side of things, keeping me grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Not flying off the hook,
mm-hmm.
as you do at times.
We all do.
Yeah,
we all do. Absolutely. And what about, so you talked about your business partner, who was one of the best salespeople I think you said you'd ever heard and great at raising capital and cash. Yeah. But what was the, did you have a more general business mentor or somebody who was, 20 years ahead of you in the CEO game, or where did you get your leadership inspiration and your business planning inspiration from?
I'm lucky to have, I actually spoke to Ajax or Alexander Latzik a couple of times, who gave me some good advice.
Mm-hmm.
I also speak to my sister a lot, who's, manages a large part of LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm lucky to have a father who's kind of had those kind of jobs before. So that makes life a lot simpler.
Mm-hmm.
But then, to be honest, I just ask everyone, everything, all the time, and just try to understand, what other people kind of have as advice.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very helpful. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like just keeping yourself curious is probably the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the answer is always out there.
Mm-hmm. So it's a lot about listening.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, when you have a problem, I just call everyone. Like everyone I can think about, like, how do I solve this?
Mm-hmm.
And usually you get some advice.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you have a very open, kind of low ego approach, and you just talk to people, which presumably includes the people inside your company.
Yeah, I mean, some of those problems you can bounce off the people in your company, and some of those problems you need kind of an external perspective of.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's I try to keep myself open to feedback and thoughts. But also, I think when I was younger, I probably took all feedback as fact, and then as you got older, you kind of realize that you pick a few things here, pick a few things there. And, for example, just learning from your competitors, for example, can be extremely useful. I mean, we were lucky to have some really good competitors, and that might sound weird, but to be honest, like a good competitor is sometimes the best thing you can have.
Absolutely. It keeps you sharp, keeps you focused.
Exactly.
Yeah, helps you innovate. Yeah.
Exactly.
A lot of pluses. So what about for people who are coming up behind you? And I'm thinking particularly of entrepreneurial CEOs. There's obviously a corporate track as well, but I'm thinking for entrepreneurial CEOs, what would you say to them based on your own experience? What would be a couple of learnings you would happily share?
I mean, I think the transformational side of understanding that the organization needs to change, a lot at every step you go. And it was actually the manager of the 6 AP fund in Sweden who gave us this advice when I was like, 23 or something. I was doing a course in corporate law and finance, and he was leading one of the modules. And he said, like, you need one type of management at 10 people, one type of management at 100 people, and another type at 1,000 people. And I think that's been so true. But I also think that as an entrepreneur, when you're in it, those decisions are so hard to make. You're sitting there with some really talented people, but they're not scaling at all. You can't demote them. So what are you going to do? And, I think the reality is the earlier you make those tough decisions in terms of how you change the organization, the better you will be off.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of CEOs say in the end is make the call. Yeah. Execute with dignity and with respect, but make the call.
Exactly. And also try to be friends with people. I mean, even if I remove some from the organization or maybe we disagree about something, I really try my best to, keep it factual. Because most people are nice people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So you sold the car business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did very nicely and have been investing since then.
So after that, I've been building a couple of businesses. So we built one business together with a couple of friends in Sweden, which is essentially a clinic business focused on female care. So that's doing well. Still a small business. Basically, $12 million revenue. But it's building. We're buying clinics and we're building clinics, and it's going well. And it's a nice business. But it's very similar, right, in the sense where there's a lot of transformation going on in that business. But I'm very happy to be partnered with some great people. They do the job. They know it much better than me. I can only give a little bit of advice now and then. Mm-hmm. And then I started a business called Erik, which is a roll-up of software businesses in the Salesforce space, where we essentially add an AI layer on top. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been doing great. I mean, we're close to 100 people right now. There's a CEO in place. He does a great job, James. And I think there we've really invested in having the right people. Mm-hmm. So we try to build for an organization which is much more professional from day one versus, trying to go the track of switching people every level you get to. And then I do about 30, 40 angel investments, and I try to invest in specifically second-time founders. Because if you've done it once and you're insane enough to do it again, I think that says a lot about the character. And then it's got nothing to do with the money anymore. Then it's got all to do with the obsession, which is kind of what you need. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you look for that.
Yeah. Definitely.
Great. Fantastic. So let's move on a little bit, and maybe this is a nice bridge into talking about the kind of things that have caught your imagination, whether it's as CEO previously or as investor now. But what have you transformed?
I mean, so organizations, always, right? And I think, so in Frontier Car Group, as said, we transformed a multitude of different times, switching from kind of very non-centralized organizations, for example, to a very centralized approach. I think that's quite a normal situation in a larger business. And we went through that a couple of times back and forth. We also, in the businesses that we're buying right now, we also transformed them. I think we work with the founders to kind of find the right people. We also, see how we can scale those businesses, build them into something bigger. We also basically bring these businesses into Erik as a whole. Mm-hmm. So most of these people are going from working with a small organization to being part of kind of the larger Erik organization. So I think, the transformational side is kind of part of what I've been doing most of my life. And I think, even if we look at business right now, the things that are changing as we build, for example, in software, we see transformation every day, especially with the incurrence of AI.
Yeah.
So to give some context, if we look at software right now, most of the software is sold on a seat basis. So you're selling to, how many people you have. But in the future, which is what we're building for, you're going to be selling to agents, essentially. So that means like a full transformation of product, how we sell these products, how they're priced, how they work, and who the actual consumer is. Because the consumer is not going to be a human anymore. It's going to be an agent, essentially. Mm-hmm.
So you feel you're at the forefront of what's going on in the AI space?
I think I'm at like the forefront minus 15%.
Okay, say more about the 15.
Yeah. Look, I think the forefront is kind of open AI and all these guys. And I think the things that we see, they are still, a couple of years behind of what's actually there. Mm-hmm. So I think, and what we're developing is very practical applications. So I would say that that's why I say, like, I mean, we're definitely a couple of years behind, but we're ahead of where most other people are.
Which is going to be my next question. So, what do you when you talk to CEOs, in established businesses, who are waking up to AI coming over the horizon? What do you typically see and hear from them? What's their reaction?
I think in certain areas you see extremely fast, like the environment is changing extremely fast.
Mm-hmm.
And in other areas, it's going a lot slower. So I think anywhere where you can afford some margin of error, like a 10-20% margin of error, like the change is very apparent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say consumer businesses, things like that, where you're dealing with a large majority of customers. I think anywhere where you're dealing with, financial institutions, large corporates, things like that, the change is definitely slower. I think those companies are stressed of what's happening in the world, but they're also definitely not going to be in the front line of making the first changes. They're kind of waiting, enterprise-ready products, which are, so good that essentially like the error rate is close to zero. And you saw the same thing in the software world, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day when people were setting up websites in the beginning, most of the small companies started and then the bigger companies came later. And I think that's what you'll see in AI.
So they're looking for a lower risk approach, a better established product.
Exactly.
Slicker implementation, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think especially lower risk. I mean, there's all these funny stories about, especially from the car business, where you'd have like a chatbot in an American car dealer, and someone fools this chatbot to basically make them an offer, which is 20-30% below market price. The consumer then sues the car dealer, says your chatbot has given me this offer, you have to give me the price and this price, and the court agrees. So I think those are the examples people are looking to avoid,
wary about,
because at scale they're catastrophic.
And are you getting resistance at all to that kind of AI transformation?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of enterprise software sales see a lot of interest, but the actual implementation is still quite low. I think, and you even see kind of companies like Klarna are backpedaling, for example, in their AI implementations. Where they said, hey, we're all AI, and then like 3 months later they backpedal and say, oh well, we might need some people anyway.
And that's again this risk issue, is it?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and I think it's just like on the surface it's great, but 2 levels down it becomes tricky.
Right, gotcha. Yeah. So when you look 5 years out in your industry, because I guess 5 years is a very long time in the AI world in particular. What do you see?
I think, I mean, in the people always think like the change is going to come like tomorrow, right? So I think the change tomorrow is pretty small, but I think the change in 5 to 10 years is huge. So I think it's hard for even people in the industry to understand what's happening. I would assume that in 5 years, most of the kind of current problems with all these AI models will be resolved. So, I mean, that means that a lot of jobs will just be automated. And it is a really big question of what our organizations going to look like. I think what people think is that, hey, if I put in an AI bot into an accounting firm, I'm now going to be able to have like a 95% margin business. I mean, that's not going to be the truth. The truth is going to be there's going to be a price race to the bottom, right? And you're going to be able to sell other services. So I think that's what's going to happen. Like a lot of these bets that AI is going to change everything and you're going to be able to keep the business as is and the pricing is going to be the same. I think that's not correct. I think it's rather going to be like the newspapers in the 2000s, where, hey, you're making less money from kind of what you're doing right now. Or on the online businesses, and then kind of the physical newspaper. But if you don't change, you won't survive. So you're going to have to accept that you're going to have to become a smaller business, probably a similar profit margin, and a lot more competitive space, because now suddenly anyone can build a paper, right? And I think that's going to be the thing with AI is that, all these big solutions that now kind of are pretty costly and legal in accounting and a lot of white collar spaces are suddenly going to become extremely cheap. and that will change the world, I think.
So this is massive transformation.
Yeah.
So as you say, while some CEOs, maybe particularly in larger corporates who've got public listings and what have you to look after, need to be cautious.
Yeah.
In 3 to 5 years' time, it sounds like every CEO is going to be a transformer CEO, and things are going to look very different.
I mean, they're going to have to. And weirdly enough, I mean, I think everyone thought that robots were coming for, all the blue-collar jobs, but I think it's definitely the white-collar jobs that are going to get hit the hardest.
Yeah, so the accounting firms, the legal firms, the insurance companies,
Exactly, and I think, and weirdly enough, I mean, the plumbers are going to have a great job, right?
Supposed to be the career to be in.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So you have a very unique take on transformation from your AI business.
Yeah.
And it's great to hear your point of view. I'm wondering if in the other businesses where you're an investor, do you see a slightly different angle, or do you see that same debate but from the other side?
Yeah, I mean, most of the businesses I invest in are more, let's say, early stage tech businesses. So that's what I know the best. And I think there right now, I mean, most of the products that people are building are AI first products. So I think that's the perspective, is that AI is going to change everything. I do think the biggest thing is that people underestimate how long it's going to take. So, for example, I was speaking to a founder the other day who's doing kind of a new CRM, which is AI based. Great idea, looks awesome. However, like, to get bigger corporates to change their CRM is super hard. Even Salesforce sales process into their space can be a 1 to 2, even 3 year process. So I think like the change is going to come. These businesses will become big businesses. It's just going to take more time than people think. And then there's, I think, a lot of business that are just going to be kind of working as normal, right? It's not going to be much change. There'll be some efficiencies in certain departments, but otherwise not much.
And when you think about the AI transformation, what's the role of customer in those transformations? How does that figure? Because I've heard other CEOs say, people get very excited about efficiency benefits and cost down. It all looks great, but the quality for the customer hits the floor. The brand suffers, and that's not getting enough attention. Is that overly dramatic, or are you saying that?
I think that's probably the truth right now, definitely. And I think also there's a few, trailblazers that think they say, okay, AI is going to fix everything. We can run a whole company on AI. I think that's not the truth at this point, but at some point it's going to happen, definitely. And I think you already see in certain technology spaces, where really big businesses were built by very small teams, especially in the gaming industry. So I think, you're going to see more of those like large businesses that build a specific product with relatively small teams. So I think that's of interest. But I also think that the customer role in this is really to be the driver of the change in their own business. Because I think you see a lot of times that people come to us and say, I just need something to show to the board, or I just need to have like an AI story. And in reality, what most people need is rather like, okay, what's the plan? I don't know what's going to save you next quarter, but what's this going to look like in 3 years?
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like they're outsourcing that conversation as well.
Yeah, and I think that's also the nature of a lot of large businesses. So, because most of these businesses are listed, they're kind of fighting to get to their next into their next quarter. And, really building an AI first business is super hard. I mean, we tried a lot of this in Frontier Car Group to change a lot of our processes to be just machine learning or automated. Even that was very tough, back a couple of years ago.
And are you getting a different perspective? I'm just wondering on the role of chairman, for example. Yeah. I don't know if you interface more with CEOs or with chairman, but I'm wondering if are chairmen taking a different perspective in the transformation conversation when it comes to AI? Are they looking further out? Are they less concerned about quarter and leaving that to the CEO and instead looking in the 3 to 5 year horizon?
Yeah, I think, if you look at kind of the board members and managers that we meet who are, let's say, either on a, managing a couple of large businesses or sitting on a board somewhere. I think they obviously have a bit more of a long-term horizon. I think the CEO will be a lot more of the details. And especially if we look at Erik, I mean, they're speaking to kind of the middle management, often the people who are trying to make this change. And as in any corporates, they're trying to push things through, and not always easy, especially in these times. I think in certain countries in Europe, the economy has been tough, so then investing for the future is actually pretty hard. But on the flip side, if you don't, where are you going to be in 5 years? So tricky from that perspective.
Yeah, devil if you do, devil if you don't.
Kind of.
Absolutely. Right. So Peter, I'd like to return to the issue of transforming the organization, because that was a big feature. You've alluded to it a lot in your own CEO-ship, and I'm sure you see it when this AI conversation and in other things. But so talk to me, if you can, about how you thought about the transformation of the Frontier car business, for example, as you scaled up. What were some of the big levers, if you like, that you thought, I'm going to have to pull those in different directions to get this really to fly?
Yeah, so I mean, like, to give some context, the way we were structured was that we had one large central team. At the end of the business, we had one large central team, and then we had relatively large country teams. So the central team kind of built all the technology, all the platform that we had. And we had a team initially in Berlin. Then when the majority ownership was bought out by Naspers, we moved that to Delhi, to India.
Okay.
So you can imagine some interesting cultural clashes there. We for a while then tried to have both Berlin and a Delhi office. There was no commonality in between having an office in Delhi and Germany. The cultures did not work together, and we tried for a while quite enthusiastically, and ended up just being focused in Delhi. Then in most of the local markets, we had relatively large operational teams because we're managing 30, 40,000 cars a month. And, those they need to be transported, moved on, they need to be priced, sometimes refurbished. And basically, you needed to have kind of the full management of this, right? So I think the way we thought about it, like initially, was just small tech team, and then we have country teams over time with smart entrepreneurs. I think over time we became more and more centralized. More and more of the decisions were data focused. So I think we were initially going on good feelings, in terms of like, this feels right, we'll try this and see what happens, because we had no data to work on. And over time, I think we just shifted to a very hardcore data approach of where we invested our money.
And that's a good example of scaling up, isn't it? From the entrepreneurial, this feels right, let's do it, to actually, now there's margin at risk here. It's big scale. We need to be more accurate.
Yeah, and I think also as a CEO there, you kind of have to fight maybe your inner inhibitions because you have like a view on things that you've learned over time. But many times the data tells a different story. And then you have to fight kind of your own inhibitions of okay, look, this is what I feel, but this is what the data says. So I need to follow the data, right? Because the data will guide me in the right direction. And 9 times out of 10, that is the truth. Sometimes you have a gut feel that something should go a different direction, and maybe the data is not right. But usually, like, data will tell you the most stuff. So I think that was also the learning of going from being kind of a gut feel entrepreneur to being more like a data-driven CEO.
Yep.
And I think that was a big change for me, at least. Having run like different organizations before, that were maybe up to 20, 30, 40 people, shifting that mindset to be, more of a data-focused leader, really just ensuring that everyone is kind of following the same way of thinking.
And say a little bit more about the India choice, the choice to go there and abandon Germany, or the kind of duality of two centers. Why did you choose India in the end?
I mean, really, it was 2 practical points. One is that Naspers, who bought us, they had a big office there. Right. And there was a practical setup for us to move there. And the other was that, frankly, in Berlin, hiring people had gotten so expensive that we were losing people left, right, and center, and we just couldn't match anymore kind of what others were paying. So I think we had a couple of people that left with 3 times the salary we were offering. And at that point you're just going, well, this is probably not going to work out.
That's time to call it a day, I think.
It was one of those things. And I mean, I'm very happy that those people got a good job and a nice pay. I applaud it. But it didn't work for us.
But you weren't going to match it. No.
Yeah, exactly.
So that takes us into the talent space. So as you scale the business, and you've alluded to this already, how did you think differently about, as a CEO, about the talent you needed to bring in?
Yeah, and I think that was really quite a big difference. We really went from kind of all these small entrepreneurs running businesses in local countries to hiring proper managers who could really scale a business. And I think those managers would not have been able to build a business from scratch in many cases. I mean, some people developed from kind of A to Z, but I think that's unusual. I think most of the time, we had people that did the 1 to 10 job, and then even they felt that maybe it's time to move on, and we brought in someone else. And in some cases, the departure was not as enthusiastic, and they started competing business. So we had a couple of those instances as well.
Yeah.
Which was also interesting.
I'm sure. So, what as you were scaling up the talent, what were you now looking for? What were some of the non-negotiables that you had to land?
I think we look for talent who were not only just bringing themselves, but also bringing a good data-driven, process-focused team. So usually most of the good talent in my learnings have a group of people they like to work with. They kind of follow them everywhere. And so when we were looking for kind of a new CEO of a local business, we would really look for kind of, good manager who can bring in the right team, who's data-driven and focused, who's been a part of building something before, who's used to this kind of entrepreneurial vibe, but still kind of moving from that level to building something bigger with proper data, proper processes. Yep. I mean, I think something that most of businesses struggle with going from kind of A to Z is that, you'll have, for example, different data formats or different views on what your KPIs are in different places, or, you're a bit too decentralized, and in the manager's view for that country or product, it might be a view that they're doing really great, but in reality, our view might be different. So I think just ensuring that we're all looking at the same stuff, all the same data, we're kind of looking at people the same, we're looking at results the same. I think those are things that are really important as you scale.
Yeah. And presumably these people you're bringing in are bigger than the people you have already in terms of experience. So you're also looking at their leadership capability, because they're going to run.
But I wouldn't say that they're bigger, they're just different.
Okay.
So the people that we can, in many cases, have from the beginning, they might have been experienced and smart people, but they were really good at the 0 to 10. That's what their competences and their skill set lay. And then you have the people that you bring in after that, and their skill set is kind of the 10 to 100. And then after a while, even they level out, right? And you need the 100 to the 1,000 kind of guy.
Yeah. So as you move from 3 people to 5,000, you now have a large organization, and you were in 20 countries or so?
15.
15, okay. Yeah. So even how you keep folks up to date with what's going on, and how they keep you up to date with what's going on becomes much more of a challenge. How did you address that?
I mean, practically, it's just set meetings and focus on phone calls. I think my view was I've tried to be pretty close to the operations. So I would at least speak to every country leader or regional leader on a weekly basis. We discuss really practical issues. We go into nitty-gritty. We go in deep into the KPIs and really be focused on where things are going. I think my learning was like all this fluffy stuff in terms of speaking high level without detail or focus. I don't think that works. I think you need to be deep into the details and understanding what's happening. Because also my job as a CEO is also to speak to our shareholders, right? Or our owners or the board in terms of how things are going and trying to understand what they want as owners of the business. So I see, I need to be relatively deep, and then I need to transform all this information into something consumable for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other theme you talked about earlier was reward.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's important.
Yeah, so in my view, it's like you want to align interests a lot. So I think people whatever they say, whatever they do, they follow the money. Like it has been, at least my experience, that it's rare that people don't. And so in my view, I don't really like bonuses or things like that. I like people having equity. Like I want them to be part shareholders of the business. I want them to be well incentivized. I want them to have like a really good upside. If things go well, they should make millions, That's fair, right? They put in the work. I think bonuses and stuff like that is sometimes quite detrimental because you're working for the very short term. I think with salespeople, maybe it's a little bit different, but for general management at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask how far and broad was that equity sharing principle?
So I think pretty far and broad, I would say, to everything, everyone who we've felt was, important for the business, even if it would be, quite a few levels down. Like we would rather incentivize them. Then in certain countries and cultures, people don't care as much about equity, and you have to kind of rethink things, right? But definitely the management layer.
Okay, got it. And you mentioned the board, the chairman. So what was their role in the transformation of the car business in particular, and how did they help you?
So I think, with Naspers, they had another business which we combined our business with to an extent. So they were pretty instrumental in that, and that gave us a good boost in terms of building that business. And Naspers obviously had a couple of representatives on our board. I think the board before that was mostly venture capital.
Right.
And I think they were, I'd say, pretty instrumental, especially in the beginning. Where they kind of helped us find a direction and focus that would be palatable for the investment community. But I think it's like everything, right? It's got its ups and downs. Sometimes you get help, sometimes you don't. In many cases, as a CEO, in the end, it's your decision, and you have to live and die by it, no matter what.
So was there particular expertise that the board brought, or a particular challenge that they brought to the business?
No, I think we had a pretty good board. I think they were decent. I think the Naspers board was very helpful. They really tried their best to be supportive. So I think it really depends on what stage of the business you are. I think I've always been quite fiercely independent. So I will present the board to the facts of where we're going. I will have a suggestion where we're going. If they feel very adamant that we should be going somewhere else, it's up to them to, find someone else. Basically, that's my view.
And I guess that never happened.
Not really. I mean, in the end, I obviously moved on from that business, but I think that had more to do with kind of, I felt that my job was done. I think they also wanted to kind of merge the businesses further together, and I felt like, hey, I just handed over the best business I could hand over, basically.
Which brings us to the kind of the final part of our conversation, I guess, which is kind of pulling a lot of things together and thinking about what is the DNA of the kind of transformer CEO that you are or were certainly in the car business, and that you also now look for when you're going and investing. So what are some of the red threads that you see?
I mean, for the people that actually are doing transformation, you probably have to be pretty. I'd say pretty focused, but I'd say you have to have an idea of what you're going to do. So you're going to be strong-minded. You're going to be, you're going to choose who you listen to, probably. And sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. But I think it's hard to transform a business and keeping everyone happy. You're going to have to make changes. There's going to be big changes in the people that are there. And in many cases, you're going to have to take some angry people that disagree with you. And if you don't want to do that, then you probably shouldn't be in that role. So I'd say strong-willed, strong-minded is probably the core asset. But obviously, you also want to be good at finding the people that build that business and are important for that business and are core to keep around, and put the right people in the right place. Most people want to deliver results, want to do good things. But if you put them in the wrong role, they're not going to be able to perform. And that makes everyone unhappy.
Yeah. So having a good eye, I guess, is going to be important as the CEO, right? So being able to pick the best talent to support your transformation, build the right leadership team around you.
Yeah, and I also think it's not about the best talent, it's about the specific person that fits into the thing you need to execute.
Okay.
So I think it's more about like the right person in the right place. Yeah, I think that's really the core part. I think sometimes people get carried away trying to get the best CV in the world when you don't need any of that.
Mm-hmm.
You just need a guy with a special set of skills or a girl who can do the job that you need to do. Yeah.
And what about delivery or execution ability?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean?
Is that important?
I mean, that's the only thing that matters, right?
The only thing that matters. I love the entrepreneurial approach. It's so clear. It's always so clear. Yeah. And leadership as well, right? You're going to lead potentially a 5,000 strong organization.
Yeah, I mean, that was very different for me, at least. I think as someone who really likes details and being focused on KPIs, I think that was something different. I think you just had to communicate a lot more with the organization.
Yep.
And that I felt was different. So you spend a lot more time just, having group calls, having information calls, just keeping people informed, showing up, trying to motivate people, trying to figure out who's the person you need in a specific location, trying to get a feeling for what's happening on the ground. I think that's quite different.
Some CEOs talk a lot about transformation humor.
I don't know. Didn't have any of that.
In those dark moments, when the crocodiles are circling. And,
yeah.
You need to be able to laugh at the tough stuff. And
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what else can you do, right? I mean, I feel like it's nearly, the Swedish northern sense of humor, or you just laugh at whatever is happening, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's cathartic, isn't it?
Yeah.
What if you were picking one quality? Let's say you're investing in a business, you were going to put in a CEO. There's one quality that you will never negotiate on. For the CEO-ship. What would that be?
Look, if I'm investing in business, the guy needs to be obsessed with what he's going to deliver. If he tells me he's going to go and on a 2-week vacation, I mean, that's not happening. If he tells me he's working super hard 24/7, he's going to try to deliver this. Even if he's not the best person to deliver this, he's got a much better chance than anyone else. Because over time, he'll just become better, as he is more and more obsessed. So I think in order to build a business, you need to be somewhat obsessive. And I think it's definitely important.
So a few quick fire questions to pull our session together.
Cool.
And we've touched on some of these a little bit already. So first of all, are transformer CEOs born or bred?
I mean, I think there's probably a set of letter combinations which are put in those people at birth, but I think they're bred in kind of in brimstone, basically, right? You have to go through a few things in personal life to become that person, but you also probably have to be a little bit peculiar, I think.
Okay. And what about if you're a transformer CEO, is it a one-time thing? Is it something you do once and say that was enough? Or is it kind of I love this. This is great. It's like entrepreneurship and, you want to keep going.
I think transformational CEO and entrepreneurship is similar in the sense that I think the feeling is the same. It's like you have an idea, you want to solve it. Someone brings an idea to you, for example, and you want to fix it. And you're not always doing it for the money. Sometimes you're just doing it because you're curious and you think, could I fix this? Maybe I could do this. I don't know. More like a challenge.
So motivation's not always money.
No, fair enough. For some people, I think. I'd give it the 1 in 10.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And what about, and maybe we've answered this question already, demand for transformer CEOs in the next 5 years?
Oh, I think it's going to be huge. But I think it's also going to be, there's going to be a lot of tough choices made by people, just like in the internet era. Where, people are going to have to make massive trade-offs, which are going to hurt a lot in the short term and be important in the long term. And, only the best will survive from that.
And give us an example of what you see one of the trade-offs being.
I mean, it's basically like this. Are you going to try to attempt to sell the story that, for example, if you're in accounting and legal, that you're going to keep charging, $1,000 an hour for your services, or you're going to try to bring the cost down immediately and outcompete everyone else? I mean, because that's going to be super tough, right? Maybe you just bought an accounting business, it's doing 10 million or 100 million or $1 billion in revenue, and suddenly the actual market might be, a tenth of that, right? like Schibsted and all the newspapers, right? They took that decision. I think it's the best comparison.
Mm-hmm. Great. Which talks to, so demand's going to be skyrocketing, and I presume that's not just AI. You're thinking of other forms of transformation as well, or is it primarily AI?
I mean, I think AI will be the driver of a lot of change going forward. I think it's less in the short term, more in the long term. And I think it will be part of everything we do. But I think you also just see like a lot of businesses which are kind of stalled at this point, which need a bit of a revamp. So I think the need of people that can come in and push change is going to be considerable.
And if demand is skyrocketing, is the supply there to satisfy that?
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, because it is an experience game in the end.
Yeah. And so what happens to CEO pay, particularly to the transformer CEOs?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I would assume it will go up as people get more and more desperate, but I don't know. And it's also a little bit like in the bigger corporates, the billions and billions of dollars in transaction value or enterprise value. I mean, the ability for these businesses to pay, especially if they're in decline, is either they will pay out of desperation or they won't be able to pay because they are in a tricky spot. Yeah, so it will be interesting to see.
A tough call for the chairman.
Yeah, we will see.
Very good. Peter, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming on Transformer CEOs and sharing your experiences. And I love the strong entrepreneurial streak that runs through everything you talk about, and how you talk about it as well is very evident. So thank you for taking the time this morning. I know you're in London. We've caught you while you're here. But thank you for making the time.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.